Okay, so let's see. Okay, I've got, first question is, can I operate my business while I'm waiting for my permit to be approved? The answer to that is no, sorry about that. You need to have your BOP prior to operation. Second question we have is, do loan applicants need to be core certified? And if so, is the certification based on all class 1 and 2 eligible, or for those who have completed the core course? So right now we're looking at core, they have to be core certified, as we said, 1, 2, or 3. So we will be looking for that. At this time, we haven't been advised by the city attorneys that they need to be graduates, just core eligible. So that's something else that we're going to be working with our attorneys on. And we don't have a definitive answer on that yet. Let's see, we have a question about, it says, listening to the city council meeting last night, it sounded like the council wants the lottery method for storefronts reviewed. I, as a core graduate, agree that we should review it and go to a drawing based on a core graduation, market ready, and business plan. Is there a date timeline for when the final decision will be made for the lottery criteria qualification? So there won't be a lottery, as we mentioned. It's going to be a straight competition between proposals. Those will be scored, and the top 5 scoring proposals will be offered the opportunity to apply for those storefront dispensary permits. So we don't have a date for when we'll be going back to council. For that, we do need to change the code for that. So we're hoping to do that within 4 weeks. It's a tight timeline. We're going to do what we can. Okay, next question. Says, I think the requirements overstep the boundaries of free market. I don't know what requirements that refers to. So whoever posted that, if you want to repost in the Q&A and specify which requirements where, feel free. Next question we have, will the change in storefront dispensary process change the timeline? Do you have an idea of when the RFP is due? That change, and my doorbell just rang, so sorry folks. The change in storefront dispensary process, oh, excuse me for a second. Sorry, living life here. So the question was, will the change in storefront dispensary processes change the timeline? It will. You know, we were initially planning to do this process where we would be talking to you today about the application process for the lottery, and that was going to be happening on October 12th. As it is now, you know, we have to go back to council with a code change and a process for the RFP. And then the RFP usually has to be out for anywhere from 20 to 30 days minimum. And then once those the proposals are all in, then they are scored. The scores are tabulated. So you can see we're probably looking, I'm thinking a minimum of 2 months as for when this would actually happen. So that's sort of what's going on with that. Okay, next question. Do we have an approximate timeline for an eventual RFP process, submission window guidelines? So as I just said, we don't have a timeline. Probably 2 months is the earliest that we would, you know, if we can actually get back to the council in 30 days, and then we can sort of put out that RFP, giving 30 days for people to respond. You know, that would be sort of the minimum time I think we would need. So that's kind of where we're at. As far as guidelines, really what we're looking at is the criteria that people would need to respond to, and how that criteria would be scored. And so that's sort of on that list that I posted and went over earlier. And that we're looking for feedback if people really like certain of those or don't like them. So there is someone is asking, can you please share our loan readiness seminar that is next week? There is Woke Canna is doing a loan readiness seminar next week. And I think if you go to their website, you can find out information about that. Okay, next question. Will the BCC or city revisit the 30 previous permits for validity? If there is a possibility of current licenses to be revoked, would they consider allowing core members for the opportunity to hold those permits? I don't believe there's any plan at this time for BCC or the city to revisit any previous permits for validity. I think that, you know, when you're talking, I assume from 30 previous permits, you're referring to the storefront dispensaries. So my understanding is there's no intent to revoke any of those. We're looking at adding additional permits. Permits generally are revoked if permit conditions have been violated. So we're just looking to add to the current number and not take away. Let's see. An anonymous attendee says, I think this is a statement, I thought the city wanted to avoid a slippery slope of opinions and paid for presentations. So I am getting paid for this. I'm a city employee. This presentation is paid. So I don't quite know what that refers to, but if that person wants to resubmit another question, they certainly can. Okay, so next question is, how do you plan on scoring the proposals? Well, as you saw earlier, that list, we're kind of starting with there and kind of going to and from. We're going to be adding to, taking away from. We're going to have to send it to the city attorney and make sure they're okay with all that criteria. So if you've got things that you really like or don't like, we encourage you to call us, email us, cannabis@cityofsacramento.org. Definitely let us know what you'd like to see or not see. And if you even have ideas on how you think it should be scored, like a business plan should be scored way higher than a resume, or you know, the investor list, that's fine. We'd love to hear people's thoughts on that. We are intending on kind of, once we get some comments on this, we want to send out a list as soon as possible via a survey. So if you get something from us via SurveyMonkey, that is actually us. That's not a scam. Feel free to fill that out and send it back. We're trying to use surveys a little more often to just kind of do these quick kind of, hey, what do you guys think about this? So definitely let us know what your thoughts are. Okay. Next question is, what is the difference between course certified and core graduates? So course certified means you have met the minimum requirements of classification 1 or 2. So you have met those, and you've been certified that to have met those qualifications by our core facilitators, which of course is GSOL, Greater Sacramento Urban League, and SAC Asian, the Sacramento Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce. A core graduate is someone who has been certified by those 2 facilitators, and they've also gone through one of those programs and graduated out of their classes. So that is the difference. Got a question on, when does the loan process begin? So we don't have a timeline right now. Definitely fall, but I realize September is kind of fall-ish. We're looking October would be great. A lot of it just depends on how these things get through the sort of city review process. We're definitely making headway. We are also sending out surveys. So, you know, we are still soliciting input. That's why I can't really kind of give you a hammer down, because we're still trying to get some input from you guys, right? From core stakeholders as to what you're looking at and what you need to start your businesses. Okay, so next question. It says, under the BCC, there's a section for capital improvements for $500,000. Will this be under phase 2 for the loan program? So probably capital, I'm not sure under which BCC section you're referring to, but for phase 2, that is the, you know, I haven't opened for business yet, but I have a location. I just need to do some kind of build out of the space to make it regulatory compliant and something that will work with my business. So that should be sort of in that phase 2. And if I didn't answer your question all the way, feel free to submit another one. So thanks. Yes, let's see. Okay, next question. Number 20 and 21 on the list. Will you open CUP applications for storefront? How can we apply for a CUP for a dispensary? So those were what you're referring to. There's there were kind of three options that we put on the list for, you know, should someone have a secured, have secured a location? And if so, how far along in that process should they be? Just like, you know, do you have to show investors? We kind of go back and forth, honestly, a lot on that, just because, you know, we don't want people to spend a ton of money up front on something they may never get. But at the same time, we want people to understand that, you know, they will need to move along fairly quickly. You have to be up and running within 3 years, you know, that's still going to be something that you have to do. So, you know, we struggle with that. And this is sort of an example of that struggle. There's three different sort of paths on that continuum. Have you secured a location in a zone that allows for a storefront dispensary is sort of like the first step. Second, you know, have you applied for a CUP in that, for that spot? And three, you know, will you, you know, do you have an approved CUP for that location? We currently know there are 3 locations in the city that have CUPs for storefront dispensaries. So those are out there. I don't believe that there's anybody in those spaces. We don't have any record of anybody currently operating there. But you know, there are people who are going to have to start from the beginning, find a place, apply for that CUP, and go forward. So again, if you have thoughts on whether we should require sort of income or location, definitely let us know. Let's see, next question is, how many city council members opposed the lottery yesterday? Well, I can tell you there wasn't an official vote. There was pretty much, I think, everyone thought that it was better to do a, I think the takeaway, the main takeaway I got was that all of the council members were interested in making sure that someone who had put the work of getting ready to run a storefront dispensary should be in the running for a storefront dispensary. So they didn't like the idea that someone who is course certified versus a core graduate, for example, would be able to apply and be in the lottery. And that was sort of a requirement that we had gotten from our city attorney's office that we had to do. So I think all of them did not like that part of the lottery where anybody would be able to participate. They really wanted to have people who had gone through the work, right, of going to their core classes and becoming a core grad. They wanted that to be rewarded. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please answer, submit another question. Okay, another question. Currently, how many applications for cannabis business permits are pending for issuance of the permit? If you're talking citywide, non-core, probably, I want to say maybe 150, 200, I don't know. Zara, do you have a better sense of that, or Nick or Jamie? They're all like, not me, not me.
We know we have about 400 applications and 53 are from core.
Okay. So citywide, looks like there are, wow, 400 applications that are sort of in the process somewhere. And those are not for storefront dispensaries. Those are all types of cannabis licenses. Okay, we have next question is, according to the notes from the meeting, I thought it stated that the lottery will be reconsidered. If not, why was that not stated during meeting last night? So the reconsideration was that they didn't want a lottery. So the conversation went from last night at the council, and you can watch the recording. So it is available to the public on the city's website. You know, it was starting out with, you know, the lottery, not liking that anybody who was core certified could participate in the lottery, and then going to is there any way that we can, and this was a question to the city attorney, any way that we can allow for people who have, shown themselves to be business ready, to be the people who are at consideration, be considered. And then it became, the city attorney said, well, you can do an RFP. And so that was the process that was decided upon. So we were directed last night to come back with an RFP process. So no lottery, no picking of balls out of the hopper. It's going to be that scored competition of proposals, right? Okay, so next question says leasing requirements that you are considering. I'm not sure, and it doesn't say who that was, but if that's something that you like or don't like, then circle back and let us know. You can send us an email or you can submit another question here if I didn't understand your question. So next question is, why are there so many more requirements for the additional dispensary permits? The original 30 permits didn't have nearly this many requirements. So for this one, this is an issue where, those original 30 were operating kind of when we came along. And so when this, when the law changed and the city started looking at giving permits out, they were the ones who were operating. So the idea was that if you were operating in the city of Sacramento, you would get first shot at this. And so the people who signed up showing that they were operating, those were those 30 permittees. The additional ones, it is something that it's the question of that I think the council has struggled with previously. And that was at our, you can go back and see the conversation that was at the January 14th, 2020 workshop in front of the city council. And they were asked the question, do we want to remove the cap on dispensaries entirely? Should we lift it, raise it? What if we do lift it, how much more should there be? So that was something that was debated, and it was decided that 10 more dispensary permits for core right now was the appropriate, 5 this year, 5 next year. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And I get that the 30 original permittees didn't have these same requirements. They were just here and operating. So that's kind of what we've got. Okay, so the next question is, how many of the reimbursements have gone to people of color, particularly women, and how does CORE plan to support and promote more women in cannabis? Let's see. So we don't keep track of, how many the reimbursements, that went to people of color or women of color. We did send out that demographic sheet with everything. I think everyone got one, and everyone who's applied for that got them. But that's for the state requirements for our grants. So we are trying not to track that information at this time. Our core program really kind of deals with the impact of the war on drugs in the classification 1 and 2. So it doesn't really necessarily equate with someone of color or gender. But I think if you look at the zip codes, that's primarily where, our Black and brown people live, right? So I don't have those statistics in front of you. I can, we could look at the forms that were completed and sent on to the state and get that answer for you. But I just don't have that right now. So I'm sorry about that. Next question. My apologies if it was mentioned, but what is the loan application timeline? Well, we're a little bit at the mercy of the city processes, both for setting up a payment process and the legal review. So we are going through that now, and we're working with them. And as we move on, we will be providing more information. We do want to, I can tell you right now, we want to roll that out ASAP. So we've got kind of 2 priority projects going on at the same time, right? We've got the storefront dispensaries and we've got the loan program, and we're really trying to push the boundary with both of those. So we will get that out as soon as we can, and we'll let you know as we advance on that. Let's see, what is the next? Okay, next question. Will the city enforce the ordinance and terminate, it says, will the city enforce the ordinance and terminate the dispensary permits that have transferred ownership? So I can tell you that the council adopted their code section dealing with, you know, the not allowing someone to own multiple ownerships of a dispensary permit. And we are doing that going forward. You know, we're doing that. I don't think that it applies, according to our city attorneys, it doesn't apply retrospectively. So it doesn't apply, sorry, my words, I should probably take a drink of water. Hold on. It doesn't apply to the, so people who already own. So my understanding from the city attorney's office is that if I, back in 2016 or whenever, have an ownership interest in 2 dispensaries in Sacramento, the city can't make them divest. So we'll have to kind of see if that answer, you know, changes, if that changes in any way, shape, or form. But that's the information that we have, and that's what we're working forward on. Let's see, someone asked us, do core participants get priority when it comes to planning? Yes, so one of the benefits of being a core member is that you get expedited processing in planning, in building, and in our office. So for all the city things you have to do, you do get priority. Okay, so someone asks, will it be held against you if you already have a cannabis business? So I think that means, I'm assuming that means for the RFP process. It won't be held against you. I mean, I think you would, I imagine that you would want to play up the fact that you have a successful cannabis business. And as long as you don't own or have any ownership interest in a cannabis dispensary, you know, storefront dispensary here in Sacramento, then no, it won't be held against you. Next question is there a total of 10 dispensaries or just 7 or 8? So there's a total of 10 dispensary permits that are going to be made available. 5 this year, 5 next year is the information we're going off of. So from that we've gotten from the direction that we've gotten from the city council. So 10 total at this time, 5 this year, 5 next year. Okay, next question. Will cannabis business does not succeed? Are they on the hook to repay the loan? It is a fact, 20% of small businesses fail and 30% in year 2. So unfortunately, you know, yes, a loan is a loan, right? So we, you know, through our core program, through the grants we've tried to get from the state, you know, we're trying to make sure that small businesses do succeed. But a loan is a loan, so you would be indeed on the hook. Now, what that hook looks like, you know, we're still working that out. You know, I don't think anybody wants to ruin anybody's life, but at the same time, we are hoping to make this an evergreen program that not just the people who are ready now for loans to start their business can take advantage of it, but also people a year from now or 2 years from now would be able to come in and get loans. And you know, if you got a loan now, then, you know, in 2 years, if you need to expand your business, hopefully that loan program would still be there to help you. Next question, any sense of the number of new storefront licenses to be made available? So the direction we have it from the council at this point is 10, 5 this year, 5 next year. So that's what we're going off of. Next question is, can we get a copy of that draft? I'm assuming you mean the sort of the list we put together of things we thought up and things that people have emailed to us. Yeah, you can get a copy of that. We'll actually put it on our core website. So that'll be out there for people to see. And again, feel free to say, I like number 12, 16, and 2, and I hate numbers 1, 5, and 12, you know, whatever. And I offer these additional suggestions because we're really hoping to get as much input as possible. Let's see. Okay, next question. Did the city make the decision for our RFP before consulting with core participants to see if this is what we wanted? regarding a lottery. We were never notified until now. I feel your pain. I can tell you that this all happened last night at about 6 o'clock. So, you know, this was something that the city council decided they wanted to pursue, and they gave us direction to pursue this. So that is what we are doing. You know, I can't tell you any more than that. That's kind of, you know, we were given our marching orders, and that's what we're pursuing. You know, we were happy that we had this stakeholder meeting now, so that we could let you know pretty much as soon as possible about this. So, you know, we did a lot of work last night and this morning to change our presentation, because I said we had originally planned to go over the lottery application and the various dates for that. So, you know, this is sort of what it is and what we've got. So, okay. Next question. The city attorney said all this would become a rabbit hole of litigation potentially, and warned the way to avoid an abyss of opinion and paid for presentations that could become a battle of who has the most resources to put into a paid consultation. Well, I don't think the city attorney said all that, but you know, there is a risk of litigation. There was a risk of litigation with the lottery as well. You know, our goal is to try to develop something and take the input of our city attorney's office to try to make sure that litigation is kept to a minimum. We try to do that with all of our programs, basically. So I hear you. We're going to do what we can. I don't think anyone wants to see litigation grind the program to a halt. Let's see. The next question: are licenses going to be available for the shopping zone? So the shopping zone change to the code happened back on, what was it, June 30th? And it became effective beginning of July. So if there are spaces available in the shopping zone, that is a place where people can look. So yes, licenses could go there. We don't have a, you know, all the licenses must be in this area or that area. It's wide open at this point. Okay, so next question. Will you give feedback to participants for reimbursements? We can give feedback. What we've been doing is you know, what we've done with the people that we've paid out already is we do an initial check, as again, just to make sure that they're, you know, core members, that they've applied for a BOP, things like that, and then we look at whether those expenses actually are things for a cannabis business. I mean, if you're buying a tractor in the city of Sacramento for your cultivation, we're gonna call foul on that. Or at least we'll really want to have some video of how you're using it in your indoor cultivation. So once we kind of do that initial check, then it goes to the financial folks, and they're the ones who really dig into the receipts and things like that. And I know they've had some, you know, communication with people who have submitted reimbursements about, okay, you know, we need not just an invoice, but an invoice that's been marked paid, and the amount that was paid, and things like that. So basically backup for the claims that are being made. So that's kind of the feedback that has happened, because there's no qualitative aspect to the reimbursements. It's sort of like if you requested a reimbursement and we have money available and you fit the criteria of being a core member, and you've applied for your BOP on a property which you made CUP application or has a CUP, then we sort of go through the process I just described. So hopefully that answered your question. Oh shoot, and I just, hold on a second, I accidentally pressed the wrong button and the questions went back to the beginning. Let's see, sorry about that. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Let's see. Okay, I think I see it now. Okay, next question. Will there be numerical limitations for each loan phase? For example, will a certain amount be allotted to each phase? Yes, so we are looking at that, kind of thinking about how much money would be needed for phase 1 versus phase 2 versus phase 3, and comparing that with how much money we actually have and how many people we know are, could potentially be asking for it. We have 159 people who have graduated from core right now. So we know that every single one of those people could potentially apply for a loan. you know, if they do and we just kind of equaled out the money, it would be like in the low 20,000s for each person, which isn't going to get anybody, you know, terribly far. So that is a concern. And so we're looking at how much is appropriate for this phase, and that phase. I can tell you now, it's probably not going to be enough for anybody who has no resources and is just starting from plain zero to get a business going. I think the idea is that it's going to assist with, you know, the efforts that you have to get that business going, but it won't be the sole way of getting your business open. So I'm sorry, I really wish it could be. Okay. So I have a question about, and I think this is referring to a previous question. It says the budget that was submitted, thank you. So let me see if I can scroll back to her previous question. This person gave their name, so I'm able to kind of see if I can find their previous question and what they were referring to. Looks like she was, this is the person who was talking about the BCC section for capital improvements for 500,000. And will be under phase 2 of the loan program. So I'm not sure I understand, but so yes, so I think that we are, I'm not sure I really understand your question. So you can contact me offline. You have our email address and we can answer your question, or you can submit another question. And I'm sorry for not getting it. It was a late night and an early morning, so sorry. Okay, so next question. As a graduate of the core program, I'm really disappointed in the changes. It leaves room for a lot of things to happen. I don't think it gives a true opportunity to the disadvantaged. How can you competitively compete with someone who already has multiple businesses or a cannabis business already? Well, you know, I can tell you that, you know, I'm sorry that you're disappointed. The changes, I don't know if there's been any changes in the, I'm not sure if you're referring to changes in the core program or sort of changes in kind of some of the benefits like the, you know, the retail storefront dispensary or the loan program or what's going on. You know, competitively compete with someone who already has multiple businesses. I think that's what every small business owner who's just starting out feels, you know, and so I think that the cannabis business is particularly tough just because it costs so much to get in, you know, your foot in the door, right? So I don't necessarily have a good answer for you. You know, we're definitely doing what we can with the resources we have. If you have thoughts on how this could be, you know, what would be better and how to improve the core program, we are going to be starting with our Core 2.0 workshops, and that's going to be in September. So I definitely am looking that for people who are interested in doing that. I've already had people kind of step up and say they want to be a part of that conversation. So if you're someone, you didn't leave your name, but if you're someone who's interested in that, definitely email us at cannabis@cityofsacramento.org, and we can put you on that workshop list, because we really want to try to make core, you know, I mean, I think some people are happy now, but, you know, Core 2.0, hopefully let's talk about how can it be better, right? Core, the core program was intended to be a 2-year pilot program to sort of see how it goes, you know, and that's going to be up in April. So we want to make sure that we're ready when we go to the council with sort of a slate of initiatives of how we'd like core to be. So we're really hoping to get that input from you, the stakeholders, and other folks who might be interested in that. So let us know what you think about that, and if you want to be a part of that. So thank you for your comments otherwise. Let's see, next question. Currently this is a long one. Currently there are 150 plus individuals who have participated in Sacramento core programs. An RFP contest where individuals are pitted against each other will result in a few winners and mostly losers of the highly lucrative storefront dispensary opportunity. Instead of a contest, can awarding the new dispensaries to groups of core participants be considered? It says example 1, using today's number of core participants, 150 owners divided by 30 storefront dispensaries groups equals 5 members per ownership group. Example 2, doubling today's number of core participants so future entrepreneurs have the opportunity, 300 owners divided by 30 storefront dispensary groups equal 10 members per ownership group. These are but 2 examples of creating shareholders and demonstrating that opportunity can be shared and spread to affect more people rather than just a few. Can this be considered discussed? So we can certainly add this to the mix. I think that your numbers are a bit off because we don't have 30 storefront dispensaries permits. We have 10. So, we've got 10 and you have 159 people, presumably. Some people may not be interested, but who might be interested. We also can't force people to pair up and get together into a group. But, if part of your RFP proposal is that you are a group of core members who are coming together and you are going to be operating this together, that's certainly something that I think would be, sounds like a strong proposal with the various views that people have. So I appreciate the comment, and we'll add that into the mix. Let's see. Next question is, how many core graduates do Urban League and how many graduates do Asian League have? I don't actually have that divided up. We kind of just look at graduates. So I apologize for not having that information. If you want to submit that question to via email, we can respond and let you know. So thank you. Does the amended Title 17 include C3? I assume, yeah, so you're referring to the C3 zone. My understanding is it doesn't, but I haven't looked at it in the last month or so. But I don't think it does off the top of my head, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Someone says, can you explain why the city attorney said it needed to be a lottery and now it is an RFP? What changed? I listened in yesterday and I heard some council members supported the lottery, but it sounded like they were leaning more towards the graduates and not just certified individuals who didn't take the classes. Why can't the RFP just be core graduate required for those who did the work? So what happened was the city attorney said you couldn't have a lottery that was just for core graduates. And the city attorney said you couldn't have just a lottery for sort of our two-step lottery that we had talked about first, right? The qualified lottery where people's qualifications were looked at and sort of considered, and then only the top 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever percent would go on to the lottery. So basically the city attorney said your options are lottery, straight lottery, and then last night she said you could do an RFP. And so that's what the council went for, because they wanted to have people in consideration for those permits that are core graduates, that are more business ready, et cetera. So that's kind of the way that went. Okay. Next, I think this is more of a comment. It says that was voted on for shopping zones. I don't know if this is referring to the C3 discussion, but that staff report is on the city's website for the June 30th, 2020 council meeting. So you can look at that staff report and the discussion there about exactly what zones were impacted. My understanding is I don't think the C3 was impacted, but I think it was C2 and C4, but I could be wrong. That's just my memory from something I haven't looked at in a couple months. Next question is, how many current operators that are approved with approved reimbursements in core are minorities and or women of color? Can you guys share that data? # social equity. I don't have that information just off the top of my head. I have your name. Thank you for leaving that with your comments. So we can contact you. Nick and Zara and Jamie, I think you guys can see the question and answers. Can you, let's make sure, I'll write it down, and if you guys have it too. So we'll try to get back to you on that. So thank you. And if we don't within the next day or two, please leave us an email, and we can, we have a lot going on right now. So if we miss this, send us an email, nudge us, and we'll get right back to you. All right, so next question is there a possibility that the storefront dispensary process will change again, or is this the final direction? I wish I could get my magic 8 ball out and sort of figure that out. you know, we are at, you know, the council is the one that decides at this point. You know, we get input from city attorney, and then we go through the city process, and then it goes up to the city council. You know, we come back to them based on their direction. The last direction we had was a lottery. This direction is an RFP. There is a possibility that they could, you know, a majority of them could change their minds and do something different. But this is the direction we have right now, and this is what we're moving off of. So I know that's, I am someone who likes certainty in this uncertain world of COVID-19 and 2020 and all the craziness, but I like certainty, and so I feel your pain. I wish I had better information to give you. That's the direction we have right now, and hopefully that will, that's the direction we'll actually end up at. So sorry, thank you. Okay, next question is real estate required to pursue a retail storefront permit? So at this time, you know, we're putting that out as is that something we want to include or not? So whoever posted this question, if you have strong feelings either way, let us know. We tend to kind of think that maybe we shouldn't require that, just because, you know, I think it's probably hard to locate property and then in a month or two that would have this, you know, and then you're required to spend money on something that's not, you know, a sure thing. And I hate people to do that. So personally, I'm tending to kind of not requiring that. But if there's a strong sentiment otherwise, that I'm being entirely too nice and I need to toughen up, then please feel free to let me know. Okay, another question. Is there a total of 10 dispensaries or just 7 or 8? I think we answered that one. There are, there's an opportunity for 10 retail storefront dispensary permits that will be available. The direction of the council so far has been 5 this year, 5 next year. Let's see. Let's see. Then there's another question. Is it correct that of those 400 applications, almost 200 are from one foreign company? No, that's not my understanding. But I don't know. Zara and Jamie and Nick, I don't think that's true, and that's not my understanding. Do you guys have any different information that you can provide?
I have not heard that in any fashion. I would love to hear where that came from.
I agree.
We're going to start the rumor control newsletter and send it around. No, I'm kidding. We have joked about maybe starting that up. So it sounds like none of us are familiar with that information. I think when we get, you know, we certainly have, as you saw from our own core, you know, business applications, you know, we have, you know, a certain number, we have fewer, you know, we have like 57 or whatever the number was. I've got it over here. I think I have it over here on this pile of paper. Anyway, 50 some odd, yeah, 53 BOP applications by 37 core members. So, you know, people apply for multiple permits, but I don't think it's an issue of 200 applications from one foreign company. That's definitely not something that we see or have heard of or know of. Next question. How long have the 400 plus applications been pending issuance? Have the fees been paid in full? So, you know, people kind of tend to go at their own pace. We do have requirement that if an application has been idle for more than 6 months, you know, we have, you know, we're able to sort of kick it at that point for abandonment. We usually try to check in with folks before that, because we're nice and we don't want people to kind of lose their work and their money and things like that. So that's kind of where we are with that right now. Next question. One of the greatest obstacles for most core participants is having enough capital to successfully start our cannabis businesses. That being said, besides the possibility of the BCC reimbursement grants, assuming 22 claims are not eligible, does the city anticipate receiving any additional grant funds for core members in the future? My understanding, so that's the question. My understanding is that the state has allocated funding for next year for social equity cannabis programs across the state. We are hoping to apply for those and get additional grant funds for core members in that fashion. You know, we're also, as part of our Core 2.0, we're going to be going back to the City Council to talk about what Core 2.0 should look like and really try to see if there's any funding availability for that. It's pretty grim at the city level right now, even though, you know, the cannabis tax revenue is pretty good. So we'll see what we can do. And a lot of that is going to be, you know, what core members kind of speak up about. So if people feel passionate that, you know, money needs to be given to this program, then, you know, that certainly I think is going to, I don't know if we can say it's going to influence the city council, but I think it's definitely something that they will consider strongly. All right, next question. With the loan program, will there be an option to apply for phase 2 loans? And once operating, can we apply for phase 3 loans once we get approval for classification 3? Yeah, so the idea is that you will, you know, you can work your way up the loan phases. And we're even thinking about, you know, can you look back, right? Because sometimes, you know, you're at one phase, but, you know, you need additional capital and should you be able to look back? And I think we like that idea. But it's also a little tough because does that mean then that, you know, there's less money available for other people? So I think right now we're tending towards the idea that if you're in phase 2, you know, and you've gotten your phase 2 loan money, can you go back then and, you know, if you need additional funds, can you get phase 1 funding? So we're kind of looking at that and probably will go forward with that. So, okay. I don't know if that made sense. If it didn't, then definitely send another question or send an email and we'll try to clarify. Okay, so next question. Do we need to have a CUP and location secured to apply? I'm assuming that means apply for the RFP for the storefront dispensary permits. That's something we're looking at now, and that's one of the things that we're hoping to get comment and feedback from this meeting, and we'll also be sending out a questionnaire, probably on SurveyMonkey. So again, if you get that from us, it's not a scam. Open it, fill it out, send it back. You know, I tend to not like that for something that comes kind of quickly, and I think this is sort of coming quickly in city terms, because I think it's tough to get a location that has a CUP or get a location and apply for a CUP that quickly, and also takes a lot of money. And I know that for some folks, you know, it's tough to do that. So my tendency is to not require that, but I'm, you know, as I said, I might just be too nice, and maybe I'm not being tough enough to, and making sure that those who are the most ready go forward. So that's why we really think getting input from you guys is important. This is your program. So, you know, let us know what you're looking at. Okay, so next question. It says, Council Guerra made a statement during last evening's meeting, quote, "I want to make sure that whoever opens a cannabis business in my district is a good fit with the tight-knit group of business owners," end quote. That sounds good on its surface, but that could also be the slippery slope the city attorney was talking about, because it sounds like Councilman Guerra is going to be all over the shoulder of whoever opens in his district. Can you please elaborate on the city attorney's position on all this, please? I'm sorry, but I can't. I don't know what the city attorney's position is beyond what she stated in the meeting yesterday. So, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to elaborate because I just don't have that information. You know, so I apologize for that. Next question. Will we be able to apply for multiple loans if you have multiple licenses, or will it be one per person? Let's see. That is a question that we have been dealing with as well. You know, I think we're looking at potentially locations. We've also talked about, you know, licenses. We understand that if you've got one location, you know, one premises, but you've got, you've got your structure, and you've got your cultivation over there, and you've got your distribution over there. You know, you need different amounts of money to build out, and it costs different things to build it out. So that's something we're really kind of going back and forth about, whether it should be per premises, per location, per permit, per person, per business entity. So if you have thoughts on that, we'd love to get feedback on that. So please let us know. Next question is, why don't we just allow for temporary licenses for core? You know, that is something that we talk about and we consider. I think our concern is that, you know, we just got through a period where we had a lot of people operating without licenses, right? So they didn't have local licenses. And then we sort of put our foot in the sand and said, as of January 31, everyone's got to be licensed. You know, and that was a battle, and it took an intense amount of staff resources to get everyone licensed that we could, you know, sort of get the people who couldn't or wouldn't, you know, to stop operating until they could get the license. You know, so it's something we think about, but we're just kind of a little bit concerned about going through that situation again. You know, and then the question is, well, how long is it going to be temporary? When is it going to be, you know, how long should it be temporary for? You know, I think that's a question, because one of the issues that happens is it's not just the cost that comes with starting the business. It seems to be mostly in the build out, right? So that's kind of, you know, if you're operating, but you're operating in a building that doesn't have, you know, that health, safety, welfare, if you've got electrical problems, arcing sparks, you know, crazy stuff like that, then that's an issue. So for us, it's not so much that we can give you that temporary license, it's that building won't give you a certificate of occupancy, right? Or fire won't say that, yeah, your fire's safe until you've done the things you need to do. And that's what costs money and takes time. It's not necessarily getting our permit. So, you know, even if we gave you a temporary BOP, you still couldn't operate in the city until you got your certificate of occupancy, you got your fire, you got your security things. All those other things would be needed. So that's kind of that's kind of one of the things we struggle with about that. Okay, let's see, next comment. I think the information taken away from yesterday's council meeting was misinterpreted. No member favored electing RFP versus lottery. A fair lottery is desired. An RFP is another barrier and hardship for new business owners who struggle to acquire and organize funding and resources. Many core applicants have limited access to technical assistance for grant writing or upfront funding to hire a grant writer. We are already working diligently to obtain the 0% loan and during the long process. Soon the GoBiz grant and now possibly a storefront RFP, but technical assistance will be provided by your office and or other city departments. So I respectfully, I can tell you that every single member of the city council, not the city council, but in the city process who was there, is very clear that the council direction was to come back with an RFP process. Whether a fair lottery is desired, you know, I can't speak to that. You know, there were, I think, 2 callers for the item yesterday, 2 public speakers for the lottery item yesterday, and neither of them necessarily were in favor of the lottery. So, you know, certainly part of the thing is what the council members hear. So I think they really like the idea of this RFP that would allow them to make sure that these permits go to people who are, you know, quote unquote business ready and who are core graduates, things like that. So grant writing isn't really a part of this, the RFP. You know, a business plan, that is something that the core facilitators teach and they will work with you on. They can definitely provide a lot of assistance for any kind of an RFP process that would be involved here, putting a budget together, things like that. Those are things that they can assist you with. So I would definitely talk with them. So grant writing definitely is not something you would need to do for this. Next question is, why aren't any of the permit fees collected from applicants being used to help the core program? Permit fees, we're only allowed to charge enough to cover the program costs. And so that's what the permit fees go to. Under state law, we're not allowed to charge additional fees for other programs. So that's kind of our issue there. See, next question is, will the first cohort be given first come, first served consideration? No, I don't think that's something that has been proposed at this time. If that's something you feel strongly about, that if you're in the first core cohort, that you should be given extra points in the RFP process, then definitely submit that to us at cannabis@cityofsacramento.org. Okay, let's see. Okay, next question. The problem with the RFP is that some of your suggested criteria requires thousands of dollars to be paid prior to having a guaranteed permit. For example, lease on a building, business plans, architectural engineering drawings, etc. Being that some of the core graduates and some people who are economically disadvantaged because of the war on drugs, I believe not doing a lottery and having an RFP increases the chance of conflicts of interest. So this is kind of just things that we threw out. We've heard from people, core members in the past, that we should only have people who are who have a location and have X amount of committed investment available. So we throw everything into the mix, and then we're looking to you guys to see where you want to go with this. So it seems like you feel strongly that requiring a location is not something that you think is appropriate for the RFP. So that's good information for us to have, and we will put that into the mix. If you have other thoughts on some of those other criteria that should or should not be in there, please let us know. Okay, next question. What do we need to do to require the city's voluntary collection of cannabis licensee data by race, ethnicity, and gender? Not having that information is impediment to measuring progress on addressing the disproportionate impacts of weed criminalization. Well, I don't know if you need to necessarily require it. I mean, I think that, we don't have any problem collecting it. The question is, do people want to give it? So when we sent out the last sort of set of demographic questionnaires at the request of the state to all of our operating businesses, we got, so it's we sent out, 125, 140, something like that, of demographic forms. And we got maybe 25, 30 back. So I think some people are happy giving this information and some aren't. We're happy to accept the voluntary collection. So it's not something you need to necessarily require us to do. It's just, are people willing to give it? Because I can tell you, I from a data collection standpoint, I don't mind collecting it at all, and I think it would be interesting to know. But are people willing to give it? And that's sort of the issue we've come across. All right, let me go to the next question. Currently, what is the maximum dispensaries our core members allowed to have? So people are allowed to own one dispensary or have an ownership interest in one dispensary in the city of Sacramento. Okay, next question. The requirements for the new storefronts to have a CUP in place, et cetera, with a location secured really makes it difficult financially when you're not sure if you're going to get picked. It also makes it hard to get investors on board. So it's like there's two questions. First question, so it's not a requirement. Again, these are not requirements. These are different suggestions we've gotten, some of our own suggestions. So let us know what you think. So let's get this information. Please send it to us. This isn't a requirement. We're information gathering right now. And then your second question, it says, also, I thought the purpose of CORE was for the fight against the war on drugs and to assist with underserved community, particularly minorities, with the opportunity to start a business in cannabis. How are you guys ensuring this is the case, and how are you tracking analytics? So our core program is basically anybody who is eligible for CORE and is CORE certified is someone who was in a neighborhood that was impacted by the war on drugs, and or an underserved community, and or who was arrested or convicted for a cannabis offense. So those are all the people who are in the mix and who are getting these benefits. So that's kind of how that the city is trying to ensure that those are the people that are assisted. And as far as how are we tracking analytics, so we don't collect. I think I mentioned earlier, primarily because I think we've had pushback on giving. Personally don't have an issue collecting. I can definitely talk with our city attorneys, make sure they're okay, and we can have a form that goes out with the business out, the BOP applications, then requires people to fill out those analytics. So yeah, let's see, next question. Will there be any deferments for the loans? I think if you, by deferment, if you mean like a grace period before you have to pay, there probably is going to be a period of time while everything sort of gets set up in the system for you. If you're talking about, you're having issues paying and you need like a 6-month breather or something like that, I think we're certainly open to making adjustments on loans for people who are going through issues and events. And I think that's something we would definitely be open to. Another question, will the first cohort be considered first? I think I addressed that earlier, that's not something that we have included. If that is something that you feel strongly about, definitely put it in the mix and we will shop it around to the core members. Okay, I'm just kind of going down to the next set of questions. Does operating a micro business license constitute operating a storefront? Not in the city of Sacramento, because I don't think any of our storefronts have micro businesses as well. But in theory, if you have a micro business in the city of Sacramento that includes a storefront, then yes, that would be an ownership interest in a storefront, and you could not have an ownership interest in another storefront. Next question, it says, when will the cannabis businesses start repaying the loan? So I answered this previously. It would probably, I'm thinking it's probably going to take about 2 months to set it up and get it going. So we think it's probably going to be about that, but don't know for sure. No more as we move along. Next question. I'm sorry, I'm kind of moving a little faster because I just noticed it's 4:23 and it looks like we have 99 additional questions potentially, or is that just the total? I can tell you my little movement bar says I'm only about halfway through the questions here. So I'm going to try to hurry along because I want to try and get everyone's questions in. So let's see. A lottery for core program participants is a fundamentally racist approach to awarding dispensary licenses. None of the current 30 dispensary licenses had to depend on a gambling scheme to obtain their position or acquire the monopoly of licenses that one entity now enjoys, and they certainly were not harmed disproportionately by the criminalization of weed. I don't think that's a question. I think that's a comment, but so there you go. Let's see what's next. Yesterday, I heard the council members' concerns about some businesses not opening up within the 3 years. Can we propose 10 every other year? By doing so, it will increase the chances of businesses opening, and it will allow time to adjust new lottery procedures for future lotteries. So that number of 10, 5 this year, 5 next year, that is something that the council came up with. So if you're interested in doing 10 every other year, I think that's definitely something that you need to talk to your council member about and, bring it forward. We're going to be reporting back on how this is going, right? So we'll be talking to them like, okay, so the 5 dispensary permits have been, or the opportunity to apply for them have been put out there. And, this is how it's going. This is where the progress is. And they may decide at that point that they want to do another 10. At OCM, we have no dog in that fight. We're happy either way. I mean, I think that if you look at the population and the number of dispensaries we have currently, I think we're a little low, quite frankly, and I think we could do with raising it. But ultimately, that's up to the city council. Next question, do we need a lease to apply for the storefront? Again, we have no set criteria yet. We are gathering information and options from people. So if you feel strongly either way, let us know what you feel about that. And if you have any criteria that you'd like us to put into that mix and send out to everybody for their thoughts, definitely send it to us. Next question. It says, I think it's a better idea to require core program participants to have a partner with another participant if they need help with other areas of their business as another option. There's other ways to go about it instead of creating an RFP where many have no idea what that all entails. It's a lot of work potentially. Make it simple if it has to. So if you want the members to have a way to show they're serious and really want it, they can actually do it. At this point, which so many growing up in, and then she says, sorry, my message got cut off. I understand, sorry about that. So I think here, you know, we are at the point where we've been directed to do this RFP process. We will be coming back. I think having, partnering up with other core people to start your business is a great idea. We, you know, I'm not sure we can necessarily force people to do that, but, you know, it seems like it's a good idea to bring people with different strengths together. You know, the RFP process, a lot of it is going to be, I'm imagining from the criteria that we have, is just, you know, a lot of things that the core facilitators have worked with core program graduates on and worked on that with. So, you know, that is something that you should talk to them about. Things like creating a business plan or a budget. Those are all things that they can definitely assist you with. So I hope that helps. Let's see, next question is, can a core graduate appear in the business plan of multiple RFPs as an investor? You know, that is an interesting kind of question. And I think that that's something we would want to look at if that is, if a list of investors is one of the items we include in the criteria. You know, and we may just decide that, you know, you have to pick what horse you're going to back if you're an investor, right? So you can invest in person A, but person A is your person, right? Win, lose, or draw. And, you know, I think that's kind of seems like a fair thing. But if again, if you have thoughts either way, definitely let us know. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Another technical error. Give me a second here. Going back down to the questions. Okay, here we go. Okay, so next question is, failure is not an option, but it is a reality. So grants 100,000 K more or less depending, but increase the amount of grants to match the loan amounts out of the starters blocks grants. Then after a few laps around the calendar loans, as by then they'll have proven they have a successful business model by showing sustainability, which in turn shows they're more likely to handle the pressures of a loan. There's enough pressure starting this new industry to save the pressure of loans after grants. I appreciate that comment. We don't currently really have money for grants. So that is our issue. You know, so I think that our concern is that, you know, getting a pot of money and then giving it all away in grants. And then if we didn't have any additional money, you know, and if we didn't get much money from the state in grants, we wouldn't have any kind of a loan program. So I think we're kind of doing loans first, and then if we get additional money, we're going to be looking at grants. Someone says they'll email me their stuff, so that's great. Thank you. Let's see. Next question is, it says, Davina, I do appreciate you and the team, but with this new RFP, will you guys be assigning participants with a consultant to help with the application process to successfully complete the application, since it seems a bit more complex, hashtag social equity. So I would say, you know, we don't have an application yet. We don't have criteria yet. This is information gathering. So we're looking for feedback from you on what you'd like to see in an RFP. You know, we need to have enough criteria there so that whoever the evaluation committee is, that they can assign different points, and that we end up with 5 people, you know, who scored the most, who will get the opportunity to apply for this. So we don't have at the city consultants for this work, but, you know, core facilitators, they should be able to help you with this process, right? With business plan, with, you know, because I'm 100% positive a business plan will be part of the RFP submission, and I'm sure a budget will be part of the submission. You know, so at a minimum, I think those 2 things are definitely things that the core facilitators can assist with. Okay, next question. Can you give more information on Core 2.0 workshop dates? I've emailed you guys. I'd love to get on board. We do have your email person, and I see your name, so thank you for putting that. I know we have your email. We don't have a date yet. We are still trying to get a few more people. We've got a handful, maybe 5 people who have talked to us about getting in the workshop, and we'd like to get a couple more. So again, this is sort of our shout out once again. We're probably going to send out an email blast as well, just one last chance to get people who want to sort of workshop this for the next couple months. I wish I had like punch and cookies to offer in this virtual world. I don't, but we'll try to make it as friendly and not awful as possible if you want to volunteer. So thank you for volunteering, person. I see you, and we will get an email. We don't have the dates. I'm thinking, we were planning to be doing a lot of lottery stuff this month, so we wanted to make sure that happened. But now things are kind of thrown in disarray. So we'll be getting back to you. Okay, let me take a drink of water. All right, next question. Disadvantaged areas where statistically speaking don't have a college degree. Will they have support available for people who will need it? I'm assuming this is referring to any application that's made for the RFP process. And so basically the core facilitator should be able to assist you with things like a business plan or putting together a budget and some of those things that you might be looking at. So they should be able to assist you with that. So I would definitely contact them for their assistance there. Okay, let's see. Next question. If the city's goal is to have 50% of dispensaries owned by core grads, why are we only talking about 5 to 10 and not 30 to get to the goal? Because 10 is what was the number that was given to us by the city council. They discussed doing 30. They discussed taking out the cap entirely, and they did not. The city council didn't. A majority of the city council didn't go there. So that's why we have 10, 5 this year, 5 next year. Okay, next question. Are there unlimited delivery licenses available? I was left out of the equity program because my cannabis felony was not in Sacramento. I want to participate. Is there any way I can still be involved in resources, as I have been affected by the war on drugs and this program is state funded and my cannabis related felony was in California? Yes, we have no cap on cannabis delivery licenses. The only cap for types citywide that we have is storefront dispensaries. So delivery licenses are available. Other types of licenses are available as well. And thank you for that question. Let's see. Next question. And I just went past it. Give me a second. Can brands partner with multiple core members? For example, can cookies partner on 5 different applications? I think there the answer would probably no. I think kind of what we were talking about earlier with your investors is that you kind of pick your horse. I think that's the direction we're going with, and that way it kind of gets people out of I'm going to agree invest to 50 different people or 10 different people. So that's I think something that we'd be going to. If people really have different views and think that an investor should be able to back 10 different people and just see who they get, then let us know. I think that could be problematic because what if 2 of those go forward, and then that investor can really only invest in 1, and then there goes your investment, right? So I think it's probably more prudent just to require that any partners, investors, it's just 1 per. Okay, next question is, would core members be allowed to pool their finances together and get preference to investing into a storefront business so that more core personnel can benefit? Bring this before the city council. So let's see. I think core people can pool together. That would be a classification 3 business, right? A business that is 51% or more core. And we certainly encourage people to pull together their resources, their knowledge base, and go for it. as far as getting preference, that is something that as you saw on the list, that is on the list for something that could be assigned points. So we've got that in the mix. If you have a different thought about that, then let us know. All right, let's moving down. It says last night, council members left open the possibility of having an allocation of dispensaries that intentionally go to folks who graduated from the core technical assistance programs. The problem with only allowing core graduates is that you deny participation to someone who is eligible but has an MBA and doesn't need the training. So I think that, the council talked about sort of limiting it to core grads, and can we do that? And so that's something that we're looking at, whether it's core grads, core eligible. We are sensitive to the fact that someone could have just, gotten released from prison, and they were convicted in the city of Sacramento for a cannabis crime here, and they're wanting to apply and get certified as core, but they haven't gone through the program yet. So that's something that is there. And should we deny that person the opportunity to participate? So there's a lot of things going on. I think that we will, I think, one of the things that we've certainly talked about is maybe it's open to all core certified, but you get additional points if you're a core graduate. Looking at it that way. So, if you are core certified, then maybe you really would have to show how you were impacted by the war on drugs. Maybe that's one of the things that you would get points on, or maybe you would have to show that, you've got all these things going for you and your business ready. This is, again, we are in the information gathering stage, and we're looking for feedback. So if you've got thoughts, send it to us. We'll put the sausage in there, put it in our survey, and send it out to everybody. You didn't think this was it, right? We're going to be invading your email boxes for a while now. Okay, with the loan program, will there be an option to apply for phase 2 loan? And once operating our business, can we apply for phase 3 loan once we get approval for classification 3? So yes, so you're in phase 2. You need money for your build out or to pay for your state license. You get the loan. And then you're able to finish all that stuff. You're operating your business. You can apply for phase 3 loan. And if you apply for phase 2 as an individual, I'm wondering if you're asking, can you then, but you've become a classification 3. So like you've taken on partners, but you're still 51% core, and you want the business to do the loan. I'm sure it's going to work out. I think you just need to make sure that your classification 3 business is certified as 51% core, because that's going to be a pre-qualification. So I think that can happen. Yeah, so hopefully that answered it. Next question, will we be able to apply for multiple loans if you have multiple licenses, or will it be for one person? Yeah, that's something we're struggling with. So if you guys have thoughts, we want to make sure that it's not like one, I've got 3 different license types at 3 locations. And so I'm eligible for, I don't know, just $100,000 for each of those. And all of a sudden I'm getting $300,000 in loans, while someone else who has, just one business type at one location, they'd only be eligible for, say, $25,000. It doesn't quite seem right. So, we want to make sure that we are helping as many people as we can with sort of money that's impactful. So, we're really struggling with how that should be. So if you've got thoughts on that, whether it should be, just for each location that you're operating in, this is the loan amount. You're eligible for one loan, regardless of if you've got 3 license types there. So yeah, let us know what you think. I mean, that's one of the things I kind of wish we were all together in a room, because there's a lot, we're able to kind of do a little more back and forth, but we have to do what we can with COVID-19. So I appreciate you guys submitting your questions and going through this with us. So thank you. For some reason, it keeps wanting to advance. Let's see. Let me go back to where I was here. Sorry about that. I wish I had some good hold music or something. Hold on a sec. Okay, there we go. Next question. Can the loan be used for any cannabis business, such as a micro cultivation license? Yes, any loan type is fine, as long as it's, well, it can't be an ancillary business. It's got to be an actual, cannabis business. So if it's something you need a state and local permit for through the Office of Cannabis or BCC or, CDPH or CDFA, then it is eligible. Someone says there's 4 more months left in the year. If there's no date yet for enrollment, how long will you give yourself to go over the applicants and pick? I think you're meaning the RFP program. And for that one, we are basically, the time that's going to take the most is getting through the city processes to get up to well, let me take it back a step. We're trying to get this out and solicit feedback now and as quickly as possible, because we want to make sure we do this as soon as possible, right? We feel like it's already taken a long time. People are frustrated. They want these licenses yesterday. We get it. So we are trying to prioritize this, which makes some of those questions about when the loan program is rolling out a little difficult, and when Core 2.0 is rolling out difficult, because we feel like this is sort of the priority because it's been pushed back again. So one of the things that we're looking at here is, let's get the feedback from the core members first about what they're looking for. And then as we get it in, we go through with city attorney and figuring out from their perspective what we can legally require and can't legally require. And then once we have that all packaged up, we'll go up to the city council, hopefully within, by the end of the month, beginning of next month. Hopefully they will approve it. And then we will go forward. We will publish the RFP. We have to publish it. We have to give a certain amount of time for people to respond. That's usually a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks. So we'd probably do 3 to 4 weeks. And then there's a cutoff period. And then once that cutoff period comes, the reviewing panel will review. Once they review, it takes them a little bit of time to review, depending upon how many proposals there are. And then based upon how many there are and how much time that takes, then the top 5 are sort of awarded. We're still looking into whether we need to go back and just sort of do an informational sort of item to the city council, so that they're sort of aware of kind of how that process worked out at the end, and sort of who got the permits, kind of a thing. So that's the process that we're looking at. So we're giving it as much gas as we can. Let's see. Can we have a reminder of what propositions we should vote for in the next elections? I don't do politics, so good luck. Beyond, can we please have cannabis taken off as a Schedule I drug so we can have banking and we don't have the feds breathing down our neck about anything? How about that? Okay, so next question. What support do you guys have for core participants to assist them with creating and completing a competitive RFP? So the proposals that will be submitted, right now we are, as I said, we're sort of designing what they're going to look like with input from you guys. Core facilitators, through the core classes, you guys learned about, business plans and how to write them, and budgets and how to put them together. So, hopefully you can draw on the information and the knowledge you received, and then also talk to them if you have additional questions or concerns about sort of your proposal. But again, right now we don't have a list of what's going to be required. I can tell you, I'm almost positive. I'm like 99.999% positive that there's going to be a business plan and a budget, because that's pretty much for any business looking at starting out. You're going to need that. The other stuff, those are really things that we're looking at. Beyond the fact that you need to be core, right? So that's kind of where we're at with that. So hopefully those are at least 2 places you can go to help, right? For GSL and SAC Asian, both can assist, hopefully. Next question is, can the committee go back and amend specifics for zoning? I am in C3, and this is what pulled up. C3 districts are intended to provide for more intensive commercial uses than those located within the NC, C1, or C2 zoning districts. See-through uses are typically characterized as regional shopping centers, power centers, and or assembly of similar uses into a single complex. So this is sort of a zoning question. The council, you know, they decide what they're going to decide on that. So if you have concerns about zoning, I would definitely go to you know, email the planning department and talk to them about that, because they're sort of the holders of the zoning code. Let's see, next question is, to ensure more success with core businesses, will the city revisit the possibility of creating incubator programs for core members? So we are looking at incubator programs for core members. That's another work group that we are interested in putting together to talk about changing the core program around incubators, just because, you know, how it's currently drafted, nobody's really been able to be a core incubator and comply with state and local requirements, right? So we need to kind of look at that and look at changing that. Unfortunately, right now, that's gotten pushed back behind some of these other things that we've been talking about. We are revisiting that. We are, again, looking for a working group. So if you're somebody who's interested in that, we are collecting names for incubator working group, and definitely let us know if you're interested in that. Okay, will GSL or SAC Asian help with preparing lottery applications? So not a lottery, it's an RFP, it's proposals. You know, I think that, you know, they can definitely help with things like preparing the, not preparing, but helping you understand how to prepare a budget, how to prepare the you know, business plan, things like that. Okay, next question. How was the temporary license organized in the past? Were they held to the same standards as we are held to today, or did they just operate without any of the agencies? So there weren't any temporary licenses that were issued in the past. They just didn't have licenses, right? They were legacy operators, and we were kind of trying to get them to get licensed, and some people did and did it quickly, and other people kind of dragged their feet a little bit. And so we just kind of put a date and said, you need to be licensed by this date. And we gave them sort of an 8-month notice and a 6-month notice and a 4-month notice and a 2-month notice, and you know, encouraged them to do it. And a lot of people did get licensed, so that was good. But there were no temporary licenses in the past from the city. Let's see. Since the city council didn't vote for RFP or lottery, can you hold a vote to make sure it's clear? Well, they provided direction as to what staff should do. So they provided the direction for the RFP. And I think that is pretty clear to everyone in the city who was there. You know, we all kind of watched it, and if you watch the video, it's clear that that's the direction they were going, that they wanted to make sure that these certain qualifications were there, and the city attorney said, you can't do that with a lottery, you can only do that with an RFP. And so the city council said, okay, well, let's do an RFP because we want to make sure these qualifications are there. Next question is, it wouldn't be fair to be required to secure a building and have to pay lease payments for something that isn't guaranteed. Remember, this program is for social equity. How does that support that notion, knowing that participants are not as privileged or financially prepared for months of payments while not able to operate? What are your suggestions to core participants to get prepared for RFP? So I agree with you that I don't think it's fair, and that's not something that I personally would want to see on the RFP. But I am not, you know, I'm sort of I'm the captain of the OCM ship, but I'm not the captain of the core ship. You know, we're all sort of in this as co-people together, right? So that's why we're really looking to you guys for, do you think we should require that? We've heard from some people that, yeah, we should. So we put it in the mix, right? So when we send out that survey, definitely say that's not something that should be included. As far as suggestions to core participants to get prepared for the RFP, well, I definitely told you business plan and budget are probably two things that for sure are going to be on that. You know, the other things, a lot of it is just kind of tell us about your business and what your plans are and what you expect to do. If you're looking at opening up any kind of business, I think that's something that you should be able to kind of be able to talk about and express. So, you know, the hardcore stuff is probably the business plan and the budget, and kind of go with the flow from there as we figure out what the criteria are. Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Let's see, what is next? Sorry, my computer keeps wanting to flip the questions back to the beginning, so I apologize. Okay, next question is, any ideas why Councilman Warren, District 2, did not participate in the dispensary discussion? Was it because of a potential conflict of interest due to his ownership of commercial buildings in the green zones? So I have no idea why he didn't participate in the discussion. I think he has legislative aides, I think, that you can ask. I don't think they're called, I think they're called council aides. But you can definitely contact him, and his contact information is on the city's website. So definitely you can contact him and talk to him about that. Next question is, regarding real estate requirements, could an MOU LOI from location owner suffice for real estate requirement as opposed to actual lease or purchase agreement? I've seen, I've seen some property owners actually sell MOU LOIs. And so I kind of think, like, if we're not, I would rather just not require it personally, because I think why should you pay $1,000 for an LOI? And how is that any better? Maybe it's cheaper than having to actually lease a place. So personally, my view is to not require that, but I am, I'm open to suggestion if people feel differently. So there you go on that. Let's see, next question. And so we have 8 minutes left, and I know I will not be able to get to all these questions. So let me see what I can do here. Are core members only allowed to have one storefront dispensary? Yes. Can we have non-storefront delivery dispensary and one brick and mortar storefront dispensary? Also yes. It's the multiple ownership is only on storefront dispensary, not delivery and storefront. How many dispensaries are in operation now? Is it 30? Why are we on? It is. So we have 30 dispensary permits, storefront dispensary permits. We're approving 5 now because that's the council's choice. And it'll be 5 more next year for a total of 10. Next question. Even if licensees don't respond to the race, ethnicity, gender survey, it will still be helpful information to have. You'd be able to report what data you have among percentages of those who responded to the survey. I understand and agree. However, if you've got a 4% return rate or 10% return rate, then that data is kind of questionable for usefulness. But I agree that a start is a start. So I appreciate that comment. Let's see. Next question is, how was the previous grant money used? Who received the grant money? So the only, we've received 2 pots of grant money. The first one was from BCC, and that was the reimbursement program. And that was at the beginning of the presentation. We talked about the money. The other grant is the GoBiz grant that we are using for the loan program. So those are the 2 pots of money. Next question. Initially, there was already a list of criteria for the lottery. Couldn't we just keep it as it was before for the RFP? Well, we actually did take a lot of the things off of that. It was a, that was for our two-part lottery. We took most of those things and put them on this list. So when I said this was part of our suggestions as well as you guys, those were the ones that we kind of shopped around, right? At those meetings we had previously and people gave input on. So we put those in there, additional things we came up with, additional things that core members had sent to us between last night and the meeting today. So that's what that list is. Next question. Many of the RFP requirements will be discussed as part of the loan readiness seminar. Also, GSOL has offered to cover up to $25 for each registration if you are part of their cohort. I think that's a comment. Let's see. Someone is sending something that says that they can't get their email through. I don't know what that is. We certainly, I can't tell you why. That is our email addresses. I would suggest that you submit your question or comment here, and then we can maybe try to get it here. So sorry about that. Let's see. Next question. I think that the RFP is an unfair process. The RFP isn't a guarantee. It is a 1 in 5 chance. What the RFP proposes is that core graduates pay out thousands of dollars into many expenses, lease, mortgage payments, business plans, architectural engineering plans, and a lot of people will lose that money. That poses a problem for those that qualify with qualification 2 certification, including low-income individuals. The RFP sets it up for council members to give unfair favors where there might be other conflicts of interest. I think city council members should not be on the panel, including individuals that they have close business relationships with. If this opportunity is truly to level the playing field, then you should reconsider the lottery. The lottery gives a fair chance. Council members were concerned that after they select 5 applicants, those 5 applicants don't open up after 3 years. I suggest to boost the number of permits on the front end to increase the number of dispensaries that open. Okay, let me take a breath. So first off, we are not asking at this time anybody to enter into a lease, to do mortgage payments, to do any architectural engineering plans. Business plans are something that you learn about in the core classes. So if you're a core graduate, then you should know probably how to do that. So if you've forgotten or you need a refresher, then you can definitely talk to the core facilitator about business plan drafting and writing. So we're asking, you know, we don't want anybody to lose out any money. Absolutely. So I would say that, you know, city council kind of, I agree that there's going to be, there will be no city council members on the evaluation committee. We are looking for people with no conflicts of interest. We would not want anybody, just like we would want no current dispensary owners in Sacramento wouldn't be on that, right? Council members, no one from my office, right? So we're really looking for people who aren't involved and just can kind of give a fair, unbiased evaluation of the various proposals. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Let me go back down. How does a classification 3 organization get core certified? Who do we contact for application? So both SAC-Asian and GSOL can certify for classification 3, and that certification is 51% owned by classification 1 or 2 people. So that is a classification 3 business. It's 51% owned by classification 1 and 2. So that is that, and that's who you talk to. Next question, I support the idea of an RFP. What will be the grading criteria and who will be scoring them? To be determined on both fronts. We are soliciting ideas and thoughts for both grading criteria, and if you have any ideas of who absolutely should not be scoring and who should be, let us know. We'd appreciate that. We're looking for, you know, people that would be unbiased, you know, not involved, and still be able to understand what's going on. Okay, well, next question. In 2 minutes, let's see. Okay, someone says, Councilmember Warren did not participate because his wife is part of GSOL. He is conflicted out of participating in all discussions and votes pertaining to this issue. That's actually not true. That's not Councilmember Warren. That's a different council member. So just so you know, that's not Councilmember Warren. That's Councilmember Jennings' wife is a part of GSOL. Next question is, how many RFPs will be available? An RFP is the process. It is a request for proposals. What is submitted is a proposal. So the RFP will open and then you will submit your proposal. So the idea is an RFP is used a lot of times, like if the city needed all of its exterior windows washed, right? So on the 4th floor, you need somebody special with scaffolding to do this. And so we solicit, you know, we put out, this is what we need. We need people who can do this, that, or the other. Give us your plans for how you can do these different things and how you're not going to harm the building and what kind of great things you're going to do and all these things. And then we score them and we decide who's going to be the best one to do the job. So that's what an RFP is typically used for in a contracting environment. RFPs can also be used for something like this, although it's not as common, it can be used. So that's kind of how an RFP is. You're going to be submitting a proposal to the city's RFP for a cannabis dispensary storefront permit. Okay, we're almost at the end of questions. Almost. Someone came in late and said, sorry, came in late. Are grants currently available? Grants are not currently available. We are setting up a loan program and that may be available in the future. For our reimbursement program, currently, if all of that is paid out, we will be oversubscribed. If any of those folks are found not to be eligible, there might be additional money that we may look at granting out. So we'll let you know if and when that happens. We're still going through that sort of process of figuring out who is, you know, who meets the basic eligibility and whether they don't or not. So I think that I got to the, oh no, there are a few more questions. Okay, 5 o'clock, let's see. What phase would we be in if we have a delivery only already operating but struggling? So if you're operating business, that's phase 3. When can we apply for any of the loans, please? Or loan phases? That we don't have a date yet for you. We're still putting the program together with the city attorney's office help and with our contractors' help. So we'll let you know when that happens. All right, guys, 5:01. I gotta let my people go. So thank you all so much. Hopefully we got a lot of questions. Please email us at cannabis@cityofsacramento.org. All one word, except for the .org. Yeah, I guess that's one word. So definitely communicate with us if you want to be in Core 2.0, if you have thoughts about what kind of criteria there should be, and if you have any thoughts on who would be a good evaluator or not, that would be great to know. And yeah, definitely let us know if you have any thoughts or comments. Appreciate your time and your energy, and hope you guys have a good evening. Take care of yourselves and be safe.